Welcome to Terrifying Tales, the channel dedicated to telling original horror stories. The Children by C.J. Knight. Sweat covered Paul Burton's brow as he peered through the lounge room window. The night offered no respite from the summer heat. Marcus Burrows sat in the leather chair by the unlit fireplace, book in hand. The three children were on the floor in front of him. They sat attentively, in their matching red and white striped pyjamas, eagerly listening to the story their father told. The three children were famous. 6 years ago in March, Marcus Burrows had found the children in the woods during a hunting trip. The children were nameless, cold and hungry. After countless stories and investigation, nobody claimed them. Marcus, unmarried, took them in and since raised them as his own. The children had the look of siblings, but no one could know for certain. Each with the same blonde hair and blue eyes, all the same height and build. The children were now 9. They were no longer nameless. The world over knew the one-time orphans by name now. Talia, Caleb and Adeline, the Burrows children. Despite the mystery surrounding their sudden appearance seemingly from thin air, the story was a feel-good one. The children over the years were proven industrious. With their father's blessing, they embarked on a childhood career in social media. Their chosen platform became the online video medium known as Bune Studio. Because of their pre-existing pseudo-celebrity status, fans flocked to their channel. The content consisted mainly of children performing current online trends, prank videos, and the girls performing the odd makeup tutorial. Marcus Burrows was already one of the world's wealthiest men. The Burrows children had increased the wealth threefold with their success on social media. Children the world over adored them. There were clothing lines, toy lines, stationery, and even a moderately successful music career after a surprise Burrow Children #1 hit. Paul wiped the sweat away from his brow as he watched the children rise from the carpet. Each in turn kissed their father on the cheek before retiring upstairs. About 30 minutes later, Marcus Burrows switched the lights off and retired upstairs himself. Hugging the shadows, Paul hurried toward the main road. He found Adam and Gavin waiting by the immaculately pruned hedge at the property boundary. "It's time," Paul said. The three men, dressed in black, placed their gloves on and pulled their balaclavas down to cover their faces. The moon was full and the sky clear. The dew had settled on the sprawling lawn. The men had studied the house for weeks. A well-conceived plan was now in motion. The door to the kitchen was located around the back. Paul used a crowbar to prise it open. The crack of splintering wood carried through the still night. Each man held his breath and waited. The house remained in darkness. Paul eased the door open and the three men entered. The spacious kitchen at night gave a cavernous feeling that caused their cautious footsteps to echo. Planning was one thing, execution was another. Ragged breathing increased along with their heart rates as they climbed the carpeted staircase. An enormous watercolour portrait of Marcus with the children hung proudly from the wall. Paul took a moment, taking the watercolour in. Gavin gripped his shoulder and motioned to continue. Adeline and Talia slept peacefully in their beds as the men entered. Both were neatly tucked away beneath white quilt covers on their matching princess beds. The boards beneath the men's feet groaned under their weight. The girls shot up, their terrified eyes finding the masked men. Each man revealed a pistol. Adeline screamed. Marcus burst into the room and tackled Adam. The pair wrestled on the ground, and the gun went off. Adam rolled Marcus's limp body away and stood. Talia began laughing. "What's so funny?" Paul demanded. "Innocent blood spilled," Talia sneered. "Your God won't protect you now, priest." "He was no innocent," Paul said. "He was protecting you." Paul aimed his pistol toward Talia. "He did not know what we are," Talia said. Paul's arm snapped down beside his body. The pistol fell to the floor. The same happened to Adam and Gavin. All three men floated into the air, and with a gust, they were slammed and pinned to the wall. Adeline, please fetch our brother. Adeline jumped from the bed and hurried from the room. Talia too lifted herself out of bed. I am curious, Paul, or should I say Father Burton? How did you know? Paul kept quiet. Oh, come on. Talia clicked her fingers, and Paul spoke against his will. The signs were all there. 3 children, 3 years old, found in the 3rd month. The earthquakes, the wars, the pandemic, all striking as your power grows, as your following increases. We can link each disaster to popular videos you upload onto Bune Studio. Talia's face stretched as she nodded. It appeared she was impressed. Why now? She asked. Why wait so long? Paul fought to keep his mouth closed, losing the battle. We're out of time, he said. You're 9 now. 3 nines, the inverted number of the beast. You'll bring on the end of days. Talia clapped. Not bad for a holy man. Caleb and Adeline entered the room. Kill them, Caleb said. Talia shook her head. I have something else in mind. She clicked her fingers, and the 3 men passed out. The 3 men came to, standing in the lounge room. They tried to move and found they couldn't. The lifeless body of Marcus Burrows was lying on the floor before them. Are you sure this will work? Adeline asked. Many have tried before us and failed. I agree with Adeline, Caleb said. We should just kill them and be done with it. If we don't take away enough innocence in a single stroke, we will fail, and everyone will know what we are. Talia turned on them. And how many of them commanded the blind following we have amassed? You speak of amateurs on the television screen in front of hundreds of thousands and musical artists playing to stadiums. We have over 1 billion ready to follow. Adeline and Caleb remained silent. It was clear Talia was in command. They all plucked the fruit before it was ripe. That is why we will succeed where they failed. We cannot go home, so we will bring home to us. Talia turned to the men. We will set our true father free. What better vessel than the man who called us his children? She pointed to the body of Marcus. Paul tried to move. His body felt set as stone. He tried to speak and couldn't. The heat beneath the balaclava was becoming stifling. Caleb switched the camera on. Adeline opened Bune Studio on the computer and began the live feed. The live watch count of the feed increased immediately. Their popularity wasn't understated. Almost all of their 1 billion followers were watching within 60 seconds. Talia began sobbing. Caleb and Adeline joined her and stood at her sides. Welcome to a special live stream of the Burrows children, Talia choked out. Something terrible has just happened. These 3 evil men have broken into our house and murdered Father. The 3 men could be seen standing behind the children. Talia stepped aside to show their father's body. They broke in to kill us. Father died protecting us. They would have killed us too, but Father's spirit remains. He's stopping them from harming us. Talia stepped closer to the camera, tears streaming down her face. The only way we can bring him back is with all your love. I'm going to ask more of you all than I have any right to. We need to punish these wicked men for what they've done. I need you to stand with us to do it. Paul would have laughed if he could move. He knew what they were trying to do. They would be lucky if 1 person would turn to the dark out of pure fandom for them, let alone 1 billion. Talia turned toward Adam. We will start with this one. This murderer. She closed her eyes and pointed. Adam's arms stretched out by his sides. His gloves flew off. All of you together out there, I want you to visualise this man's pinky. Then I want you to visualise it tearing away from his body. Remember what he did to my father. A smile appeared on Talia's face. She felt the souls of those watching flowing through her. Adam grunted, but Talia held firm, not allowing him to scream. Paul couldn't see, but he heard the snap of bone. Talia's smile intensified as the finger ripped away and dropped to the floor. "Thank you all so much for your love and support," she said. "But we need to finish the job. Imagine his whole body tearing apart. Imagine how you would all feel if he murdered your parents." Talia forced Paul and Gavin's heads to turn. She wanted them to see this. All at once, the room filled with the sound of cracking bone and tearing flesh. Adam's arms and legs ripped away from his body and thudded to the carpet. His eyes grew wide as his head separated from his torso and dropped to the floor with the rest of him. Adeline clapped gleefully. Caleb's eyes grew wide with wonder. "I love you all so much," Talia said, turning back to the camera. "I knew we could count on you all to help us bring Father back." She turned her attention to Gavin and raised her hand. "I want you all to imagine a violent tornado. Keep what he did to our father in your mind." Talia forced Paul's head to turn. She didn't want him to miss a moment. Gavin's body began to spin, slowly. The speed increased until Gavin became a blur of black. It was as if he was stuck in a blender. The bang was deafening. Warm blood exploded through the room, covering Paul. "We're so close," Talia said. "One more to go and we'll have our father back." Adeline and Caleb peered through the window excitedly as black clouds appeared on the horizon. Flashes of red and orange bubbled through them with the promise of hellfire. The ground beneath began to shake and tremble ever so slightly. "I'm so grateful to you all. I promise we'll never ask for anything like this again. We just need you with us for a moment longer." Talia held her hand up toward Paul. "I want you all to imagine the hottest fire you can. I want you to imagine it burning this evil man's body. I want you all to keep what he did to my father in the front of your mind." Paul did the only thing he could think of. He prayed to God and asked for forgiveness for the murder of Marcus Burrows. Two things happened at once. He could feel his skin bubbling and burning, but he could move again. His body dropped to the floor. He pulled the salt-tipped dagger from his boot and charged toward a shocked Talia. "He's trying to kill us!" she screamed. "Hurry, protect us!" Adeline and Caleb rushed to Talia's sides and they all held hands. Paul's speed slowed as if he were running into a howling wind. His skin bubbled and cracked as it grew hotter. He knew he was out of time. Paul did the only thing he could think of. He threw the dagger at Talia. The blade stopped an inch from her face. Her smile returned. "Thank you all so much!" she screamed. The dagger flew across the room into Paul's chest, sending him through the air and pinning him to the wall. He screamed in agony as flame engulfed him. The video feed cut off, and power went out worldwide. Talia sat on the front porch, watching as Caleb and Adeline ran around on the grass as hellfire rained from the sky. They laughed and cheered like children watching fireworks on the 4th of July. The ground quaked violently, as Talia knew it would, and she knew it would be all over the world. The ocean, seas and rivers would be boiling, filled with blood instead of water, and the hellfire clouds would black the sun out forever. The hinges of the porch door whined behind her. The familiar hand of Marcus Burrows fell gently on her shoulder. She smiled. Her true father had found his way back to her. If you like what you heard, please like and share the video. Please leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. And remember, the dark plays tricks with our minds, but sometimes it's not a trick. Sometimes there really is something there.